Hey everybody, what's good? What's good? Hey man, it's your boy, Certified Analyzer Joffre. So we are here today, and we're going to be talking about the recent interview with The Breakfast Club and Dame Dash. We want to look at this interview and want to analyze it, and we want to see what was really going on here, what was happening during this whole time. Now, looking at the interview in its entirety, we can see that Dame Dash, and especially Charlemagne, were at odds with one another, right? And it seems like there were some things that were discussed before, and Dame Dash wanted to have a conversation about those things. So at the end of the interview, he does thank the Breakfast Club, right? Envy, I think Lauren was there as well, and I think Jess was on the side. He just thanked them for at least wanting to have the conversation. But why did it seem like they were just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? What was really going on? So when I looked at the interview, I thought about it. We began to analyze what was really happening. I see Dame Dash as someone who has been at the mountaintop, right? But in this present moment, it seems like he is going through a plethora of things. He may be struggling financially, maybe that's what the headlines are saying, but he knows what's going on with him. And he seems like he is trying to prove himself because everybody once knew. I remember when I was younger, saw him on TV as, you know, Rockefeller CEO XYZ. Um, and he's not at that place anymore, right? So I wonder why he felt the need that he had to prove himself continually. It seems as though Dame Dash is speaking from a place of pain and hurt. You know, one thing is that he's fallen from a place where he was at the top. Two, he's got people calling him out on that, right? Like Charlemagne calling him broke. Now, I wonder how you would feel if, you were once at the top. And now that you're trying to validate your current stance, your current position, there are people that they're throwing darts at you for that. So it was tough. It was a tough time for him as we really look at what's going on. Now, it's safe to say that there has to be some validity to what he's saying, as his big homie, right, was there with him, seemed like a really solid dude who was walking alongside him throughout the whole thing. He never really checked him or disrespected him in any way, which he definitely won't do. But just him being there, it's like it puts a stamp of approval on Dame Dash. So I wonder though, why didn't Dame Dash, Charlemagne, allow for thoughtful conversation to happen? Why were they just boom, 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 nitpicking, nitpicking, nitpicking at one another? It seems as though they were both trying to prove themselves. Not Dame Dash, but it seems like Charlemagne was trying to do the same thing as well. And when we look at moments like this, it is oftentimes hard to know that you're right about something, believe that you're right about something, know that you're right to yourself, believe that you're right about something, and the person on the other side doesn't actually believe it or see things differently from, how you're seeing things. So what do you do in those moments? Do you allow um, that person to have their way and their say, or do you allow, yourself to try to one up them, if you will? When I was growing up, my parents used to use the phrase "you're wrong and strong." And then they're Trinidadian, and that's one of the phrases that they would say, and they brought that to myself and my sister when we were growing up, because sometimes we would be very very adamant about certain things, but we were wrong. We were wrong. So how can we begin to have thoughtful dialogue where someone has a seat at the table, but they're eating well? Because it's one thing to give someone a seat at your table, but are they eating well? And eating well doesn't just mean what the food is in front of them, but how do they feel when they're eating? So I wonder, was that interview a productive one? Was that interview one in which things were clarified? Was it an interview in which there were some blows that were just being thrown throughout the whole time? Now, DJ Envy towards the end seemed to kind of level things out. And it didn't seem as though Charlemagne was all the way against Dame Dash, but it seemed as though he was trying to portray and display and showcase, right, what he knew. And he couldn't reconcile what he knew or what he thought he knew with what Dame Dash was saying. I want to encourage you today when you go in front of, when you're in front of someone and you know that you all are at odds and you're not seeing things in the same way, what's the best route for you and that person to have thoughtful dialogue? Because what if you do come in front of a Dame Dash type of person who begins to then say, I think that you're this, right? Like your orientation, and starts to kind of take the interview in a different direction. How would you respond to that, right? So just a few things that I've kind of seen, even though we're just supposed to be analyzing here, there's just a few things that just kind of came to me, right? And one of them is about your tone. One of them is about listening. So tone, listening, and also just acknowledging. And what that's saying is that I'm going to never try to be over you with my tone to make it seem as though I'm some type of boss here. The other thing is listening. I want to know what you're trying to say. I want to understand what you're saying. Then lastly, just acknowledging really that you're a full human being. You are supposed to be here and we want you here. So I don't only want you to have a seat at the table, but I also want you to eat well. So today, as you guys, man, go out there and live life, I pray that you will help others who come in front of you, especially those who are opposed to you, to eat well. All right? Appreciate you for listening. Certified Analyzer Joff. We are here and we are signing off of episode 1 from our series, Certified Analyzations. All right, peace.